If you've just started playing Diablo 3, there is one thing you should grab as early as possible, and it's Kanai's Cube, because without it your character literally loses a huge chunk of the power. The issue here is that the game doesn't explain much about where to find this cube and how to use it properly, so let me show you real quick. Right after creating a new character you can go to Adventure Mode, open Act 3, and head to the ruins of Sescheron. Yes, you can do this even at level 1, and you don't even need to finish the story. A lot of new players miss the cube for tens of hours, even though it's one of the most useful features in the entire game. Once you teleport to the location, you need to proceed to the next area, which is called the Elder Sanctum. Just follow the path to the north from the waypoint. Sometimes the entrance is easy to find, other times you have to poke around every corner hoping to find the right path. Once you are in the Sanctum, just stick to the right side of the map until you find this small breach in the wall, go inside, grab the cube, listen to the lore if necessary, and teleport back to town. This artifact will now permanently appear in all 4 camps. And now things get interesting. At first glance it all looks scary and confusing. There are 11 pages in total, meaning 11 recipes you can use. But let's go through them one by one. Nothing complicated here. First and probably the most important one, Archive of Tarash, aka extracting legendary powers. This is the main reason most players use the cube. The mechanic is pretty simple. Let's say a legendary item drops with a cool effect, but the stats on it are garbage. Normally in these games you have to choose either good stats or a useful effect, but the cube lets you extract the power from the item and use it separately. You don't even need the item anymore. The effect is permanently saved in the cube. Later you can activate it in a separate slot. You can use one weapon power, one armor power, and one jewelry power at the same time. Just bear in mind that for the extraction you need to spend unique crafting materials which drop from bounty caches or visions of enmity. Since this game is RNG based, you may find the items you want, but they have terrible stats. In this case we can move to the second page for the recipe called Law of Cool. This is where you can reforge a legendary item. It will reroll all its stats as if the item just dropped, and sometimes this literally saves your build. There's one important detail though. After reforging, the item can become ancient or even primal. If you don't know what that means, let me quickly explain. Normal legendaries are the baseline. Ancients are an upgraded version with higher stats. Primals are the absolute top. They always have the best possible rolls and the best legendary bonus, but they are super rare to find. So reforging always gives you a tiny but real chance to get such an item. To be honest though, this recipe eats resources quite fast, so it's mostly used closer to the end game after you're a higher paragon, have more materials, and you need some new items to squeeze even more damage. But what if you don't have the legendary you need at all, and all you have is a regular rare item? This is where the third recipe comes in, Hope of Kain. Take a regular yellow item, throw it into the cube, and it turns into a random legendary of the same type. For example, a rare one-handed sword can become a legendary one. This is incredibly useful when you need a specific item for your build, or at least something to become stronger while you're still leveling. Because sometimes getting that legendary through normal farming can take forever, while using the cube gives you a much better chance. Now imagine another situation. The game starts throwing duplicates at you, let's say 4 identical helms, but the piece of the set you actually need is nowhere to be found. Sounds familiar? This is what the fourth recipe is for, Skill of Nilfur. It takes an extra set item and turns it into another random piece of the same set. That useless helm can become boots, gloves, or a chest piece. Anything, but you should know that the item has to be from the exact same set, and the ancient versions won't stay ancient through this recipe. But for completing a full set, this feature is incredibly useful. Now let's step away from builds for a bit and talk about leveling new characters. Imagine you have a powerful high level weapon that you want to give to a brand new level 1 hero. Sounds like cheating, right? But the cube lets you do this through the Work of Cathan recipe on page 5. It removes the level requirement from an item. However, you will need the legendary gem called Gem of Ease. But the result is pretty worth it. Your fresh character starts destroying everything from the very first minutes, and you can immediately move to higher difficulty levels. That's why many players use this recipe for fast solo out leveling and seasonal heroes. Next up are recipes that solve another issue. Resources. Let's start with Darkness of Radamant. This is gem conversion. If you have a pile of rubies but you urgently need emeralds for your build, no problem. Throw the gems into the cube, add some essence from the vendor you can find in Act 2, and you get the type you need. Small thing but helpful. And closer to the end game, this saves a ton of time. The next 3 recipes come as a set. They are about trading crafting materials. The first one is Pleasure of Ibn Facht. It converts one type of resource into another. For example, reusable parts into arcane dust or veiled crystals. You know how it goes, you have piles of one material but you are constantly running out of another. This is where it helps. Next is Regret of Ibn Facht. This one works with arcane dust, and Wrath of Ibn Facht. This one is for veiled crystals. It's essentially the same mechanic just for different resource types. In Diablo 3 without these resources, crafting can become pretty painful. Now let's move on to the real endgame. The Caldison's Despair recipe on page 10, augmenting ancient items. This lets you further upgrade an ancient piece. Take any desired ancient item, some legendary gems from Greater Rifts, and some regular royal gems, and the cube permanently adds additional stats to the item. Strength, dexterity, or intelligence, depending on your class. The higher the level of the legendary gem, the stronger the augment. From the maximum level 150 legendary gem, you will get 750 to your main stat. Personally, I wouldn't recommend you augment your ancient item if it's not perfect and if your legendary gem is below level 100, because you will basically waste your time and royal gems. Thanks to this recipe you can push your character to the absolute limit. It sounds a bit scary for a newbie, but later on you can't live without it. And finally, the last recipe, Curiosity of Lorath Nar. Here you basically put any legendary, even not an ancient one, inside the cube and convert it to the primal version with perfect rolls and legendary power. It's best used for the weapon to quickly boost your damage, and of course you can do exactly the same to the armor or jewelry slots. Sounds cool, but to use this recipe at least once you have to salvage 2 primals, each of which yields 55 primordial ashes. And there is also one hidden limitation. You can equip only one craftable primal item. But again, as I mentioned, this and the previous page are for the later stages of the game. So here's what we have in the end. Kanai Cube isn't just an optional feature, it's a tool that will surely make your character stronger and more efficient if you are up to some endgame. Even if you think your build is strong, with the cube it will be way better. These 11 recipes solve almost every problem you might ever run into during the game. Missing a legendary, upgrade a rare item, convert set pieces, reforge, out of resources, the cube lets you swap one for another, found a cool effect on a garbage item, extract it and use it separately. Need to solo level a new character fast? No problem, make an item without a level requirement with Gem of Ease. And in the end game, augment your ancients for the insane damage boost. That's pretty much everything I wanted to share here. If you're a new player who is still learning things about Diablo 3, then I hope my video was helpful to you. Thank you for watching and listening. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button to support my work. If you have any question, feel free to ask me in the comments below. Have a nice day and happy farming everyone.